Well, hello again and welcome back to the Eagle's Nest, a summary of the book titled Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak Story, written by Charles Supaczynski, the past president of the Copper Peak Board of Directors. The book is available at the Copper Peak Ski Hill Site gift shop and at the usual book outlets, as well as at the Ironwood Area Historical Society located in the depot in downtown Ironwood. So we pick up our story in 1911. The Ironwood Ski Club has had a very successful ski tournament in 1910 with all the top riders in the nation attending and large crowds and everybody having a good time and enjoying the event. After the success of their 1910 tournament, the Ironwood Ski Club was even more determined to bring the national tournament to Ironwood for the 1912 season. But you know how competition was. It was strong among all the Midwest cities, even though the club sent good representatives to the Chippewa Falls meeting of the National Ski Association. It was decided there to hold the 1912 meet in Chicago, of all places. So the Ironwood Club went back home and started to prepare for their hometown 1911 tournament. This was the second annual tournament in Ironwood, and lo and behold, the meet resulted in a new world's record being set by Anders Hagen of Chippewa Falls with a jump of 152 feet at Curry Hill. It was said that this contest attracted the best professional riders ever assembled at one time in America. Anders Hagen rode the hill in perfect form and jumped 140 and 145 and stood, which means he didn't fall down, on the jump or on the landing in the regular events. And so then in the contest for the longest standing jump, Hagen covered a distance of 152 feet and stood, completing the run with the famous telemark turn. Just as a clincher for this epic marking event, Henry Hall of Ishpeming made 138 feet and stood in the amateur class, breaking the American record for amateurs. And among the great jumps of the day, Barney Riley of Coleraine, a fan favorite, must not be overlooked, for he covered a distance of 154 feet but fell, but it was the longest jump of the day for distance and best ever made on an American ski slide. On that day in 1911, the conditions for record-breaking work were superb. During the hour that the old records were being shattered, there was just enough breeze to straighten out the flags at the top of the 80-foot scaffold. The thermometer stood at 22 degrees above zero, and there was no new snow to make the slide slow. Anders Hagen's great leap of 152 feet at Curry Hill in Ironwood will stand as the world's official record for the longest standing jump on skis. In order to prove that the local hill had been measured correctly, the Ironwood Ski Club appointed a committee of 6 visiting riders to verify the measurements of the committee, performed its work, and reported that the measurements were absolutely correct. The committee consisted of Ole Faring and John Evenson of Duluth, Carl Eck and Fred Iverson of Red Wing, and Erling Landvik and Jacob Gestad of Stoughton, Wisconsin. The members of the Ironwood Ski Club worked like Trojans to make the tournament a success, and they succeeded beyond their fondest expectations. Ironwood is certainly on the ski map now, and fast as is Curry Hill, it probably will be a long time before 3 jumps the equal of those made by Anders Hagen will be seen, either in Ironwood or anywhere else. As with all records in that day, there was some controversy about Ironwood's world record, but the fact remained that Ironwood Curry Hill held the record. So the 1912 national tournament was held in Chicago, and the delegation to the annual meeting of the association was again pressing for Ironwood to host the 1913 tournament. The 1912 third annual local tournament was held in Ironwood, but no new records were set. But the highlight of the event was the interest created by the runs of Walter Brotland and Tom Lundeen, both boys under 11 years of age, making jumps of 83, 94, 95, and 98 feet. Both boys started their runs from the top of the scaffold. Their accomplishments at their age bode well for the future of the Curry Hill and the Ironwood Club's success. Well, here's a headline for you. Ironwood was awarded the 1913 National Ski Tournament. Well, I suppose with the long jumps made at Curry Hill in 1911 and 1912, the National Ski Association had little choice but to award Ironwood the National Ski Tournament for 1913. With great anticipation, excitement, and hype within the community, they started early on the 1913 season up in Ironwood. The people of the young city of Ironwood were happy and enthusiastic about having an event of this size in their city, and this brought a bright and encouraging outlook for the future. The ski club anticipated no problem financing the event, and there's were large delegations from all over the country that assured that they would attend. The jumpers were delighted with the prospect of making record-breaking jumps, with the records of 1911 and 1912 being still fresh in their minds. The hill is to be notably improved, and when this is done, it is the opinion of the ski experts that the Ironwood Hill will be in a class by itself, and that the previous records will be shattered by several feet. A new scaffold will be put up and erected, and this scaffold will be moved 44 feet behind the present one and will be 84 feet high, the present scaffold being 72 feet. The takeoff will be lowered 5 feet and will be moved 15 feet farther up the hill. These changes will give the jumper greater speed, while at the same time will keep him from being thrown so high into the air after leaving the takeoff, and therefore will make his chances of standing much more certain than at the present. The scaffold slide and the takeoff will form a continuous slope of the hill, while the added speed and diminished height to which the jumper will be thrown should add materially to the length of the jump. The ski experts are certain that these changes will greatly improve the present conditions of the slide, and while the improvements will involve the expenditure of a lot of money, the management feels it justified in these expenditures because the national tournament is not an everyday affair. With the extension of modifications made to the Curry Hill scaffold, the local club needed to test the effectiveness of the changes. So what they did was use the local tournament of that year to test out the new Curry Hill, as it would be called. Between 35 and 40 of the best local riders were present to give the new slide its first tryout. The new slide was completed, but they expected that there might have to be some minor changes to make in all that they desired. They worried that maybe the hill would be too fast, and if that turned out to be the case, the takeoff would be shortened until the speed problem is overcome. They wanted to put the slide in the best possible condition for the national tournament later that month, regardless of the cost or expense, and when that was done, they'd have a successful and safe tournament. The club sent invitations to attend the tournament to President Taft, President-elect Wilson, ex-President Teddy Roosevelt, and Michigan Governor Ferris and ex-Governor Osborne. So we have the new Curry Hill in Ironwood ready to go in 1913. On Sunday, February 2nd, the local riders were out in full force to try out the improved slide just 2 weeks before the big national tournament. They wanted to test and tune up the new hill before the big tourney, and so this is what the local riders did. Although they were hampered by a strong wind which blew across the slide, they made some leaps that were convincing of the fact that wonderful improvements had been made to the hill. The longest jump made in The tune-up event was 142 feet, and while this distance is not astonishing, it was very satisfactory under the circumstances. The boys were just trying out the hill, and later in the week it was thought advisable to shorten the takeoff, and in a trial run after this was done, Ben Londegaard easily cleared 148 feet. The rider was only 4 feet short of the hill record. Ski fans were so confident that a new world record would be set by the top notchers at the coming to the national tournament. The improvements to the hill have cost the club a lot of money, but this had been freely spent in an earnest endeavor to give the visitors who are coming to the national tournament the greatest exhibition of ski jumping ever seen in this country. So that about does it for this chapter of the Eagle's Nest, the story of ski jumping in the western Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The Eagle's Nest plays daily at 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. Central Time in the USA. For our international listeners, please adjust your times accordingly. Oh, and by the way, why not make a point to put a visit into Copper Peak on your bucket list of things to do while you're in the Ironwood area? They are open 7 days a week from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Central Time during the summer and fall. They have a gift shop and adventure ride to the top of the hill, and staff on site to answer your questions and assist you on your visit. This is your narrator, Dan McMahon, asking you to join us again next time on the Eagle's Nest, when we talk about what happened in 1913 when Ironwood's wish was fulfilled and they hosted their first national ski jumping tournament, and a new hero emerged at Curry Hill. See you then. Thanks for listening.